God understands when we ask why. Grace and peace, everybody. This is it. Part number 5 of this 5-part series, asking the question, how long, O Lord? How long until that day, that great getting up morning when we will be together, when we will see God? That day we learned in Revelation in the previous study, when he will wipe away our tears with his own hands. On that day, when we're in the presence of God, how long? God understands, and we're asking him, what time is it? How long is this going to take? But before we go there, I want to thank you for watching. We appreciate you subscribing to the channel, hitting that like button, leaving a comment or a question, or you can even visit the website where you can see this study and hundreds more. That's at changeministry.org. And beyond the study, beyond a video, how about face-to-face? Let's come together. If you want us to come to your church or your school, all you have to do is send us an email. That email address is contact@changeministry.org. God understands when we ask why, because God knows what we don't know. Remember how we talked about what wisdom is, right? When we're young, we don't know anything. But the blessing of age is that while we still may not know everything, the difference is we know we don't know everything. So if I can be wise enough to figure out that, man, I thought I was going to get this thing figured out by the time I reached my age, but I'm still trying to figure it out. If I know that, don't you think God knows it too? So he's not afraid and he's not insulted or offended when we ask why. In fact, in Jeremiah chapter 12, verse 1, the prophet says, "Righteous art thou, O Lord, when I plead with thee. Yet let me talk with thee of thy judgments. Wherefore doth the way of the wicked prosper? Wherefore are all they happy that deal very treacherously?" This is a prophet, an inspired prophet. This is like a major prophet. Jeremiah asking a question. Jeremiah is asking why. God is not offended at his why. In fact, he includes his why in the canon of scripture so that we can see there's a difference between questioning God and asking God a question. He knows that evil is so crazy, it's not going to make sense because only he can make sense of it. We're going to try to figure out the foolishness that's going on in this world and in this life. So when you look in Malachi chapter 2, verse 16 through 17, we get a little bit more insight where it says, "For the Lord, the God of Israel, saith that he hateth putting away. For one covereth violence with his garment, saith the Lord of hosts. Therefore, take heed to your spirit that ye deal not treacherously." Now, look at what he says here. "You have wearied the Lord with your words. Yet you say, wherein have we wearied him? When you say, everyone that doeth evil is good in the sight of the Lord, and he delighteth in them. Or where is the God of judgment?" So this is a situation where God is actually like, wait a minute, you all know exactly the score here. You're asking me these questions because you know the choices that you're making. These kind of questions weary God when we already know the answer. When Israel was refusing to recognize that their suffering and their struggling was because of their apostasy and their disobedience, those kind of questions are not profitable. But when we are asking a question sincerely, we're asking a question from a place of wanting to know why, and we don't know why, God embraces them. And beyond embracing those questions, he answers them. An example is in Psalm 10, where the psalmist asks the question in verse 1, "Why standest thou afar off, O Lord? Why hidest thou thyself in times of trouble?" And he goes on and he goes on. But now by the time you get to verse 17, "Lord, thou hast heard the desire of the humble, and you will prepare their heart, the heart of the humble. Thou wilt cause thine ear to hear, to judge the fatherless and the oppressed, that the man of the earth may no more oppress." There's a question that's asked there in verse 1, and for the sake of the sincerity of the question, the psalmist confesses, not only does God hear, but the hand of God will move. God will work for those who seek him for the why and are patient enough to wait for the answer. And not just to wait for the answer, but to follow, but to obey and to trust the answer. God's not afraid of us asking why, because on the other side of that sincere why, God is waiting with the what, he's waiting with the where, he's waiting with the when. And as he's working all of that out, I know he's doing it for my good. I know he's doing it in peace, and he's doing it because he loves me. Evil is a huge problem, but the grandness of evil only proves the greatness, the greater grandness of grace.